Messages from the Senate.
Message 454. Mr. Speaker, Senate File 38, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. The Senate adopted the Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report on the bill listed above by the vote indicated. Ayes 30. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk. Message 455. Mr. Speaker, House Bill 158, Local Land Use Planning and Zoning. The Senate adopted the Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report on the bill listed above by the vote indicated. Ayes 29, noes 1. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk. Message 456. Mr. Speaker, the Senate appointed Senate conferees to meet with the like Committee Number 2 from the House on amendments to House Bill 92. The Senate conferees are Senator Hicks, Chairman, Senator Driscoll, Senator Steinmetz. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk.
All right. So with that order of business of signing of enrolled acts, the first enrolled act for our consideration is Enrolled Act 92.
House Enrolled Act 92 being original House Bill 158. An act relating to land use planning, prohibiting zoning resolutions, ordinances, and plans from requiring compliance with local land use plans as specified. Modifying the definition of local land use plans, specifying requirements for restrictions on and implementation of local land use plans, making conforming amendments, and providing for an effective date being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act 92 being original House Bill 158. I have so signed. Congratulations, Chairman Harshman. Next enrolled act for your consideration is Enrolled Act 72 Senate.
Senate Enrolled Act 72 being original Senate File 118. An act relating to emergency expenses of government, authorizing expenditure of COVID-19 relief funds on previously approved projects, grants, or procurements, authorizing the governor to recreate expired programs for COVID-19 aid and relief, authorizing emergency government programs as specified, providing certain exemptions from procurement statutes as specified, providing legislative findings, providing sunset dates for expenditures of the specified COVID-19 relief funds, providing an appropriation to restore funding for the operation of state government as specified, providing additional appropriations, providing reappropriations, specifying conditions on appropriations, reappropriations, and expenditure of funds requiring reporting, authorizing rulemaking, and providing for effective dates being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act 72 being original Senate File 118. I have so signed. We're at that order of business of consideration of joint conference committee reports. The first report for our consideration is Joint Conference Committee Number 1 on Senate File 38. Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Was that
Chairman
message?
Olson.
What was the message number?
What? There is no message number. It's the Joint Conference Number 1 on Senate File
Joint
38.
Okay, yep. So, Mr. Chairman, on joint conference number 1 on this Senate file, we met twice, and you should have an amendment that you can look at online. I'm asking for your favorable consideration of this amendment, in other words, an aye vote. Here's what we did. And I'm going to walk you through because it's kind of a this for that in terms of how we deleted amendments and what we came to on this compromise. So you'll recall that there were 3 second reading amendments, and we delete 3 of those and put in place 2 compromises that I say are really good, I think, and I think really responsive to this body. The first dealt with fees, and you'll recall that discussion of fees was centered specifically around a fee for foreign companies who receive a certificate of authority in Wyoming. So that was a $1,000 fee. So in deleting that fee, what we actually do in this amendment is go in and prohibit the certificate of authority for a foreign company. So you can't be a foreign company and get a certificate of authority and avail yourself of the laws of Wyoming. And that's exactly what we want. And I think that's what the fee was intended to do, because the fee was centered around the question, what does Wyoming get out of this? And when it's a foreign company that just gets a certificate of authority in Wyoming, Wyoming doesn't really get anything out of that. So that's what the fee was about. So now the law is going to require you to domicile in Wyoming, or you can transfer, you can transfer into Wyoming. So the idea is we're going to create new companies, or we're going to force those new companies to come into Wyoming. And so the filing fee would remain the same for all LLCs. And again, there's no foreign domestication option here. So we're going to keep our eye on that as the law moves forward, as these organizations move forward, and see if there's really an interest in that. If there is, we can always revisit it. But I think Wyoming's probably better off without those foreign certificate of authorities. The next amendment that we deleted was actually in response to that amendment. There was an amendment that dealt with the automatic changes to the articles of organization, and there was a filing fee accompanied with that. And so that amendment goes away because once we delete the fee, we don't need that extra amendment in response to that. And then the last amendment dealt with some unique language centered around how you withdraw. And the good lawyer from Sweetwater County worked on that and came up with some good language, and I did support that. The body down the other way, after reviewing that with some lawyers outside of the legislature that actually helped craft the law and deal with this specifically, they agree with conceptually it was an issue, but the way we tried to work the solution just didn't work. So instead, we decided to just delete that provision 100%. So I hope that answers the concerns of the good lawyer from Sweetwater County, because we've just deleted it. So now if you want to address withdrawal, it simply has to be done in your operating agreement, your smart contract, or your articles of organization. If you don't do that, there is no default in the statute, and the default in the statute is what we deleted. Now, I will say this, most LLCs probably don't have operating agreements. And so the statute matters a lot because it's your gap filler, it's your default. So you default back to it. That's not going to be the case with this type of LLC, because the only reason you go and create a decentralized autonomous organization is because you want a smart contract, algorithmic code operating agreement. So you're going to have an operating agreement 100% of the time. If you choose not to address it, withdrawal rights inside that operating agreement, there's not going to be a default. The statute there was intended to be a guidepost to help craft operating agreements, preferably without the use of lawyers. But I think after talking with other lawyers, there's probably enough out there right now that people can look to get some guidance. So I think there's little concern. So those are the compromising positions on those two. So I'd ask for your consideration. And the last thing I'll just note real quick, Mr. Speaker, is that this select committee, one of the things it's going to be looking at top of its agenda during the interim are these DAOs. So after we get this out and running, top of our agenda to look at it, continue to bring in industry and talk about what we've done and make sure that there's nothing else that we can do. We want to get this right. And so I'm sure we'll be back with revisions, making sure we get it right as we go along. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you actually move it just for my own clarity? Because I might have missed it, but would you just move joint conference number 1 on Senate File 38?
Yep, I do so move joint conference number 1 on Senate File 38. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Representative Stiff, first time.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the chairman of the Judiciary Committee for coming up with a solution here that I think works. With respect to withdrawal, I think their joint conference committee report, sort of elegant by deleting this language about withdrawal. Seems to me the effect of it would be that you would default to the regular LLC provisions, which I think is also fine. With respect to deleting the amendment about having to have many amendments to the Articles of Organization, I would ask what the thought was there. It seems that it's going to be still a bit strange for the Secretary of State to be processing that many amendments to the articles. But I think it's a good report. My last question for the chairman is about this foreign decentralized autonomous organization. And is that part of the conference report between the two positions of the two bodies? Because it seems like it's a completely new idea, frankly. But there you have it. So I generally support the conference committee report and want to thank the chairman and the members for it.
Thank you. Any member for their first time? First time, joint conference 1, Senate File 38. Any member first time? First time, second time, Chairman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to the last point first, we did work strictly with LSO on this to make sure we stayed within the positions. We were advised that we were. I do think we are, because the amendment that we're deleting that causes us to just prohibit the certification specifically talks about the foreign decentralized autonomous organizations. So I do think it is. And again, because just responding to the floor debate, and I've even talked to the bringer of that amendment, and just really understanding the intent of that amendment was centered around the certificate of authority for the foreign decentralized autonomous organization. So I think it's very responsive to the body. And just to the first point, I don't necessarily disagree. I think this amendment provision on the operating agreements, I think that's something we should definitely look at during the interim on the committee. I think the logic behind deleting it is that these are operating agreements that are highly living compared to a traditional LLC. The amendments are probably going to be fast and frequent. And the code is designed to do that almost on its own once it's set out in motion. How it interacts with the Secretary of State's office is a little more futuristic. You'll recall that we had a bill that unfortunately didn't make it all the way through the process that deals with an API system for the Secretary of State's office. I think that's where you ultimately end up. It's how the government is able to respond to a voluminous amount of amendments 24/7. Obviously, we're at the ground, in terms of starting these up, and I don't think you're going to have a lot of them right off the cuff, and I don't think you're going to have to deal with that quite yet. But I think it's going to shed some light on the need for that API, honestly, once these are out and moving, and we'll see exactly how they interact with the office of the Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. So members, we are voting on the Joint Conference Committee number 1 to Senate File 38. A majority of the elected members is required to adopt the report. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Andrew. Baker.
Aye.
Banks. Bear. Blackburn. Brown. Burkhart. Burt, excused. Clausen. Clifford.
Aye.
Connolly. Crago.
Aye.
Duncan. Eklund. Air.
Aye.
Flitner.
Aye.
Fortner.
No.
Gray. Greer, excused. Hallinan.
Aye.
Haroldson.
Aye.
Harshman. Heiner.
Aye.
Henderson. Hunt, Jennings, Kenner,
Aye.
Knapp,
Aye.
Larson Lloyd, Larson Dan,
Aye.
McGuire, Martinez, Nyman, Newsom excused, Nicholas, Oakley,
Aye.
Obermuller,
Aye.
O'Hearn, Olson, Ottman excused, Paxton, Provenza, Roscoe,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Sherwood, Simpson, excused, Summers, Summers, excused, Stith,
Aye.
Stivar, Sweeney, Walters, Washit,
Aye.
Western,
Aye.
Wharf, Williams excused, Wilson, Winter, Yin, Zawanitzer, Mr. Speaker. Closing vote, are there any changes? Closing vote. The vote is closed. 48 aye, 5 no, 7 excused.
By your vote, you have adopted Joint Conference Committee number 1, report to Senate File 38. So I'm going to appoint a second conference committee on House Bill 36. Hunt Chairman, Jennings Yin. Chairman Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your second conference committee on House Bill 36 will be meeting at 3 o'clock in room 110 or 113, whichever is most easily available.
All right, members, so I'm looking at it's getting to be a shorter list, but we have just assigned, we have three things in the works. We just assigned a second conference committee on the House Bill 36, Management Council membership. We have the revisers bill out there, and that's, like I said, we'll take that up later. That committee will actually meet at 3 o'clock, probably in the somewhere between here and the Senate chambers. There's literally technical amendments, but we will meet with our Senate colleagues and just make sure we're all on the same page. So we'll just maybe call it the Senate galley. And then the other bill is House Bill 173. That conference committee is reconvening at 3:30. And then we have 4 Senate files that we have there's no action yet for us to respond to. So either they're still in conference committees or they're not going to be considered for a second conference committee, as in the case with Senate File 75. And then we have 3 others, which we have no report for yet. And I'll just tell you, those are Senate File 121, Senate File 127, and Senate File 130. So state funds, Wyoming Learn While You Earn, and charter schools. So we have 2 bills out, not including the revisor bill. And there are 4 out, well, 3 out with the Senate that we may get. So 3 and 3 at this point. So members, we're going to, just a one update, the president and I are, I guess, going to kind of simultaneously recommend that members consider the 12th through the 16th of July, which is a Monday through Friday, as a likely or potential special session dates. And it may not be the entire time, and we actually may start a few days earlier depending on what work we do. But that, look forward to that, or please consider keeping those dates as open as you can for potential special session. We'll make that determination, of course, as soon as we possibly can. Management Council meets next week, and we're working with our executive branch partner, the governor, to kind of come up with a timeline for getting topics to committees, to standing committees, including, of course, JAC will take a lead on that because a lot of this will be about the federal funds. So with that, are there any announcements? Any other announcements on conference committees? I think I announced 2, and Chairman Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on Senate File 121, there's a proposal on the table. We're waiting up for a response back so that as soon as we hear back, we'll go back and finalize that.
Thank you very much. Anything for the good of the order? Anything else? So members, we're going to stand in, Chief Clerk. So members, we're going to stand in recess until 4 o'clock. Remember, just to be clear, the conference committee on 173 is meeting at 3:30. That's why I'm setting it a half an hour after that. And it'll be 3:30, but don't be patient because we may be trying to hammer things out. So we're in recess until 4 o'clock.